Discover the incredible journey of Japheth, the hidden son of Noah, and his divine transformation. In the 3rd year of Jehoiakim, a time blighted by the corruption of men, Japheth stood resolute before the great ark, his family's hope and the last bastion of humanity. The sun dipped low, casting ominous shadows across the land, while winds howled a prelude to the great torrent that would soon engulf all. Each swing of his hammer echoed around him, the sound intermingling with the rising tide of fear and doubt that filled his heart. He cast a glance toward Noah, towering in unwavering faith, a man called by God to save a remnant of creation. The world beyond was thick with wickedness. Banishment of righteousness had led many astray, and the echoes of mockery reached Japheth's ears as he labored alongside his father, crafting the sacred vessel. Yet his heart battled discontent. How could they be the saved, when the storm of destruction brewed ever closer? He felt torn. The weight of despair bore down upon him like the tempest that while lingered in the air, calling him to wait for a divine manifestation amid the chaos. With each strike of his tools, memories flooded back of kindness and righteousness spoken of in days not long past. He wiped the sweat from his brow and turned to survey the horizon. The water was swelling, menacing and powerful. It grumbled like the roar of a hunger that awaited to consume all. Japheth's soul stirred at the thought of mankind's rebellion and the irony of their plight unfolding. It was a division, both from the world they once knew and the future unwritten before them, a painful awareness of the impending judgment that was both merciful and grave. While the elements charged against them, the family displayed their relentless spirit. They prayed together under their father's guidance, breathing life into visions of a new beginning, yet fear threatened to extinguish that very hope. As the storm raged, Japheth looked up to the heavens and sensed a stirring, a flicker of the divine covenant unfolding. God had promised life in the midst of death, an opportunity to rebuild from the ashes, yet so much was yet unknown. Before they knew it, the floodgates of heaven opened wide, drowning nations as the waters filled the earth. Their refuge was the ark, a wall against the world's violent cries, but within Japheth's heart, turmoil raged. Waves crashed against the vessel, and with each impact, the knowledge of a grievous loss filled him with sorrow. The cries of the perishing echoed through the tempest, their salvation limited by relentless sin. Amidst the chaos, a sudden calm lingered for a fleeting moment as a divine light broke through the darkness, casting a radiant bow in the sky, a promise that even in the most dire of times, hope remains. Japheth's heart leapt with the realization that they had been chosen to fulfill God's purpose. Still, as he breathed in the vibrant, renewed air after the deluge, he grappled with uncertainty. How could they forge a new nation blessed by God, one that would remember their past mistakes and strive for righteousness? Before we continue with this incredible biblical account, I want to make sure you don't miss any of these powerful scripture stories. Click the bell icon and select all notifications. These biblical narratives have transformed countless lives throughout history. If God's word through this story is blessing you, please like and share with someone who needs to hear about God's faithfulness today. Tell me in the comments, which biblical story has most impacted your faith journey? I'm always amazed how God's word speaks to hearts across generations. Now let's continue with what the Lord did next as life began to unfurl once more. Rejuvenated greenery sprouted from the soaked earth. Japheth walked among the vibrant signs of life, a stark contrast to the death they had just witnessed. He felt the weight of the divine covenant settle upon his shoulders, as vivid memories of the past mingled with dreams of a future real and feasible. With every step, Japheth pondered. His purpose, was he ready to lead this new dawn? Would he rise to fulfill the legacy of holiness God demanded of him? His heart beat resolutely, yet questions clouded his thoughts. Can he become the instrument of divine promise, filled with faith for the generations yet unborn? What would be his role in this unfolding narrative, bridging promise and peril? Each moment trembled with spiritual significance, yet the journey had only just begun. Would Japheth discover his calling in a world remade, or would the shadows hinder the light of hope? The path remained unexplored, holding mysteries of God's plan that awaited him just beyond the horizon. As the sun ascended higher in the azure sky, casting its warmth upon the earth, Japheth stood at the threshold of the ark and considered the weight of the days ahead. Before him, the land burgeoned with lush flora, a testament to God's mercy, yet in his heart, he wrestled with the echoes of despair that lingered from the flood. God had spared them, but what of the world beyond, now silent save for the whispers of a new creation? He turned to witness his father Noah offering sacrifices of thanksgiving upon the altar they had built. The fragrant smoke rose like incense to the heavens, a pleasing aroma unto the Lord. Japheth felt a pull within him, a yearning to express his gratitude for their deliverance, yet fear of man's sinful nature weighed heavily on him. How can we forsake the mistakes of the past? Japheth pondered, his heart restless. Noah sensed his son's turmoil and called him forth. Japheth, do not let fear govern your heart. The Lord has set a covenant between us and the earth. His voice carried authority and warmth, reminiscent of the reassurance that had marked their journey. We are vessels of his promise, a beacon of hope for what is to come. Emboldened by his father's words, Japheth stepped forward. Father, what shall we build now? Shall we create cities filled with the wisdom of God, or shall we wander as nomads, seeking the land he will provide? Noah placed a hand on Japheth's shoulder, imparting both counsel and faith. The earth is before us. We shall cultivate it, and the Lord will guide our steps. Let us not replicate the mistakes of those who were lost. Thus, Japheth began to envision a life beyond the ark. He would strive to cultivate a new kind of community, one founded on the principles of faith, love, and reverence for God. He longed to gather the remnant of humanity that preserved the knowledge of his ways, but dread crept upon him. Would such a company ever arise? Days turned into weeks as the family began to repair the remnants of what had once flourished. They built homes with their hands, planting crops from the seed saved upon the ark. Each sun-kissed morning brought with it a sweetness of communion with nature. The birds sang anew, and the rejoicing of the creatures echoed around them. In this wondrous reawakening, Japheth encountered God as creation afresh, but shadows of uncertainty danced in his mind. What if complacency befalls us? He whispered one evening to his brothers, Shem and Ham, as they gathered around the warmth of a fire. What if we forget the lessons learned from the flood's fury? Shem, wise and venerable, looked towards the stars that glittered like the promises of God. Let us not allow our memories to fade. We must establish a legacy rooted in faith and obedience. The covenant remains, and with it, a duty to teach our children the path of righteousness. Ham nodded, enthusiasm igniting within him. Together, we can form a nation that acknowledges his greatness and reflects his will. And thus, the threads of their destiny wove tighter together, but as the days turned to months, mysterious events began to unfold. The earth, though healed, displayed signs of lurking danger. Tumultuous storms on the horizon threatened their fledgling settlement. Rumors of darkness spread among the scattered remnants of humanity, whispers of seduction towards the wickedness they had left behind. One moonlit night, Japheth ventured out, yearning for communion with God. The air was thick with promise and foreboding. He fell to his knees in the damp earth and cried out, "O Lord, guide us through these trials. Strengthen our resolve to uphold the covenant. Light the path before us." In response, the stars twinkled brighter, as if they carried the breath of divine encouragement. Yet, amid the stillness, a shiver of unease rippled through the atmosphere, portending change. "Behold," said a voice echoing within his spirit, "for what I have begun in you shall spread among the nations, but the path forward will weave through trials that test your faith. Prepare your heart, for the great turning is at hand." Japheth looked up into the heavens, heart racing with the weight of impending revelation. What would this turning bring for him and his family? With the gathering shadows, uncertainty loomed, yet the promise of God burned bright. The journey was far from over, and Japheth was about to discover his true place in God's sovereign plan, a plan that would echo through countless generations. Would his heart remain steadfast in the face of the trials to come? As he pondered these weighty matters, the wind whispered a secret, revealing that the story of Japheth was eternally bound to the unfolding tapestry of God's redemptive work. As dawn broke over the verdant landscape, a new sense of urgency gripped Japheth. The world around him, a fresh canvas painted with God's vibrant creation, both inspired and troubled him. With each passing day, the echoes of the flood's violence reverberated in his thoughts, and the responsibility that lay upon him felt like a heavy mantle. He gathered with his family in the cool morning light, the air filled with the sweet scent of earth and promise. Noah, their father, stood in the center, embodying wisdom and strength. "We must prepare," he urged, his voice resonating with gravity. "For the Lord has revealed to me that nations will rise from our lineage. Our actions will set the course for generations to come." Shem and Ham exchanged glances, understanding the weight of their father's words. They had witnessed the hand of God in their deliverance, and now it seemed their fervent obedience was to be tested anew. Japheth's heart quickened as he asked, "What shall we teach them? How shall we guide those who will come after us?" Noah's gaze turned thoughtful, as if seeing beyond the horizon. "We shall instill within them the fear of God and the love of His commandments. We will build a community anchored in faith, not folly. Each tree we plant shall be a testament to life, each brick we lay a lesson of their father's promise." Inspired, Japheth pondered the vision of vibrant cities where faith flourished. However, unease threaded through his aspirations. Yet what if darkness emerges from within our own hearts? Will we not falter as our ancestors did? "Fear not," Noah responded with conviction, "for God has promised He will not forsake us. We walk in His light and in His truth." Encouraged by his father's assurance, Japheth vowed to lead with a spirit of vigilance, seeking to cultivate both the land and their very souls. Thus, they began to labor, building homes and planting crops that reached toward the heavens with hope and expectation. Yet the land retained its secrets. One evening, as the stars glittered like scattered gold, a chilling wind whispered through the trees. Japheth felt an unsettling stirring in the air, a shadow of something far beyond the realm of human understanding. Minutes stretched into hours as a storm brewed in the distance, casting a pall over their lively hearts. What if the winds awaken old sins? Ham wondered aloud, a shadow cast over his brow. Must we always look behind us? "The Lord has promised us a future," Shem interjected. "We hold the wisdom of His covenant. Let not doubt take root in our hearts." "Gather the animals," Japheth commanded, urgency rising in his spirit. "Let us care for them as we nurture our own. They are part of this new creation." As they worked together, a presence seemed to fill the air, an unearthly hush. It was then that Japheth felt that divine whisper again. "Behold, I am with you. Know that the paths ahead may twist and turn, but I shall guide you like a shepherd leads his flock." In that moment, the storm erupted, thunder rolling across the sky. The family huddled together, their faith unyielding. They held fast to their teachings, recounting stories of God's providence, reminding one another of His unwavering promise. And as the rain poured down and their world shook, Japheth perceived a deeper truth: the storms may rage, but where there is covenant, there is refuge. No force of darkness could eclipse the light they carried in their hearts. In these trials, a daunting revelation surfaced. Japheth understood at last that God's plan was not merely to reshape the earth, but to remake their very souls. Within the furnace of trial, their lineage would be fortified, redeeming humanity through the covenant established with them. "A new creation," he whispered, as the winds howled in answer. But what might this truly entail? Little did he know, the unfolding tapestry of God's redemptive work was about to reveal itself, woven intricately within the lives of their descendants, who would rise and fall, yet ultimately be called to fulfill His purpose. The race was set, the foundation of nations would soon tremble under the implications of their obedience or their disobedience. Ultimately, the path toward redemption would lead through the valleys of human trial, unveiling a sovereign plan that only God could accomplish. As the storm howled and the heavens wept, the air grew thick with anticipation. Japheth, seeking solace amidst the chaos, wandered to the edge of their encampment. The night was illuminated intermittently by flashes of lightning, illuminating the tormented clouds swirling above like serpents coiling in the tempest. "Father," he whispered to the winds, "grant me understanding." In the silence that followed, he felt a stirring in his spirit, a revelation beckoning him to listen closely. Meanwhile, inside the sturdy structure they had built, Noah gathered his sons. Their faces glistened with the dim light from a flickering oil lamp. "We cannot lose hope, for we bear the promise of the Almighty," he said, his tone firm yet tender. "As it was in the beginning, so it shall be again." Shem nodded, his face set with determination. "Let us remember the Lord's covenant, that he would never again destroy the earth by water. We must show our children the depth of his mercy." Ham, his brow furrowed, replied with a heavy heart, "Yet, if we are to teach of his goodness, must we not also reveal the dangers of straying from his path? The shadows of our past still linger in these clouds." "It is true," Japheth interjected as he returned, the flicker of hope igniting within him. "But those shadows need not engulf us. Instead, they can guide us as reminders of the grace available to those who seek righteousness." Their father smiled at them, proud of the resolve forming amidst the encroaching darkness. "Then we shall teach both lessons, the mercy of God and the peril of straying. A legacy of strength based on truth." As they spoke, the storm continued its relentless assault, but one by one, their hearts began to stir with a newfound resolve. Japheth felt the stirrings of purpose deep within his soul. "Let us not wait in fear for the morning light. We must take action and cultivate that which God has entrusted to us. Tonight, we shall plant the seeds of our lineage," Noah declared, "not just in soil, but also within the souls of our children." As if on cue, the rain began to relent, yielding to a momentary stillness. In the depths of that silence, a voice resonated, clear and omnipotent. "Yeah, I shall make of you a great nation, you shall be my people, and I your God." They looked at one another, eyes wide with awe. It was a reminder that in the face of trial, the promise of God stood unwavering. "I see a time when our descendants will struggle, yet they shall rise above," Japheth spoke, his voice bold now as the skies began to clear. "They shall emerge as a testament of faith, their roots interconnected through the trials they endure." Shem, emboldened, added, "And in their growth, they shall witness the splendor of a revealed plan, one which encompasses all nations." With their hearts fortified, they emerged into the crisp night air, gathering together under the vastness of the starlit sky. Together, they knelt upon the sodden earth, praying as the last vestiges of the storm waned that in a fluid motion, they sowed seeds into the soil, each with a prayer for the future generations that would come. "May those who live after us know your goodness, Lord," Japheth implored. "Let them walk boldly, guided by your light." In that moment, a brilliant star shot across the sky, illuminating the night with an ethereal glow. The brothers stood transfixed, filled with a sense of divine purpose. Romans 8 verse 28 echoed in their minds a future woven with a tapestry of hope would emerge from their endeavors. And thus, as the dawn began to break with the promise of light, an awareness dawning upon Japheth: this journey was more than mere survival, it was a divine calling to foster faith in all corners of the earth. Yet even as they rejoiced, a shadow danced at the fringes of their thoughts. What burdens and blessings would their lineage truly embrace? Each seed planted bore the weight of destiny, yet the full understanding of God's sovereign plan remained just beyond reach, inviting further revelation. As the first light of dawn cast its golden hues over the earth, the solemnity of the moment lingered in the hearts of Noah and his sons. The air was still, as if creation itself held its breath in reverence. They stood upon the freshly tilled soil, a sacred pact formed between men and their Maker, and their commitment echoed in the silent promise of the new day. "Gather your families near," Noah instructed, his voice carrying both authority and tenderness. "We embark on a journey that surpasses our understanding, yet we do so with the faith we have been granted." Shem, his eyes reflecting the hopeful azure of the morning sky, looked at his father. "Do we truly grasp the weight of this undertaking, Father? The generations that follow will tread where we stand now, witnessing the culmination of your covenant." "Indeed," Noah replied, his countenance grave yet filled with warmth. "We are the architects of a legacy. The seeds we have sown not only speak of our lineage but also of our devotion to the Lord. As it is written, a good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children, Proverbs 13 verse 22. Ham, increasingly burdened with the weight of his thoughts, spoke hesitantly, "Yet, what if our children choose the path of folly? What if, Though we strive to guide them, they fall into the shadows we once knew. Fear not! Exclaimed Japheth, a fervor igniting within him. For each generation has the choice to follow either the embrace of God's mercy or the allure of temptation. We must fortify them with the truth and love of the Almighty. Just as our forefather Adam walked with God in the cool of the day, so too shall we guide our children to seek Him diligently. As they conversed, a gentle breeze whispered through the branches, carrying with it the promise of a new season. Together, they prayed once more, their voices rising in unity as the sun broke fully over the horizon. Lord, let us be faithful stewards of this inheritance, they cried, and may your name be glorified through us. In answer to their prayers, the ground beneath them trembled softly, and deep within, they felt a rumble, a mingling of joy and warning, as if the very earth yearned to rise up and declare the glory of its Creator. What does this mean? Ham wondered aloud, fear threading through his voice. Shem lifted his gaze skyward, where a flock of birds took flight, filling the air with their joyful melodies. Does it not remind us that creation yearns for redemption? He replied, filled with inspiration. Even the earth groans to participate in the divine plan. Our lineage shall carry a testimony of hope, a legacy of faithfulness. Noticing the trail of the birds leading to the mountains beyond, Japheth felt an undeniable pull to journey forth. Let us not remain idle, we are called to explore the lands that lie beyond and nurture our families in their knowledge of the Lord's wonders. As they resolved to advance, Noah felt a strong impression in his spirit. Japheth, my son, lead us forth, but remember, God's ways are not our ways. Trust in Him, for the path may twist and turn, revealing mysteries beyond our soul's desire. United in purpose, they began to walk towards the horizon basked in sunlight, leaving a trail of faith behind them like footprints in the sands of time. Yet, hovering in their hearts was an unshakable truth: God's sovereign hand would reveal its full design in His perfect timing. As dawn transitioned into day, an overwhelming sense of purpose filled Japheth's soul, but his thoughts lingered on the unfathomable depth of God's intentions. What trials would their faith endure? What blessings awaited? For they were aware of one undeniable truth: God had plans that extended far beyond the journey of their lives. And so it was that amid their movement forward, a divine whisper echoed through the valleys and mountains yet unseen, leaving them all with a chilling realization: the appointed time would unfold mighty prophecies and unseen wonders, compelling them to seek the fullness of His plan, the greatness of their God. As they traversed the verdant hills, the air buzzed with the songs of creation, yet within the hearts of Noah and his sons, a weighty anticipation lingered. Each step was a commitment to a legacy interwoven with faith and divine promise. The sky above, painted in hues of blue and gold, felt alive, as if witnessing their pilgrimage. Noah kept pace beside Japheth, whose spirit brimmed with hope and eagerness. Father, as we journey forth, what shall be our guiding star? He inquired. What shall we teach our children about the God we serve? Noah, wise in years, looked deeply into the distance, recalling the covenant set forth upon him after the flood. We must declare the goodness of the Lord. His faithfulness must be etched in the hearts of our children, just as it is written in the scrolls of our ancestors. He paused, reflecting on the enormity of their destiny. We shall recount the deeds of His hands and the wonders of His mercy. Ham, still grappling with his doubts, spoke with vulnerability. Yet, how can we trust fully, Father? Does not our hearts tremble at the uncertainties of tomorrow? His voice faltered, revealing the shadow of doubt that loomed in his spirit. Shem, imbued with the fervor of youth, turned to his brother, but look upon creation, Ham. The rising sun, the flowing rivers, and the towering mountains all proclaimed the glory of God's creation. Can we not have faith that He who began a good work will carry it on to completion? Encouragement filled the space between them as they moved onward, but a palpable tension hung in the air, a reminder that faith is often forged in the fires of trial. As the path wound into the depths of a lush valley, the family encountered a stream, its waters glistening like precious jewels in the sunlight. They paused to drink, refreshing their souls with its clarity, yet even as they quenched their thirst, uncertainty lingered in Ham's heart. Should we not remain cautious, expecting difficulties along our path? He voiced hesitantly. Japheth stepped forward, holding his gaze upon the flowing waters. Caution serves us as a guiding companion, but let us not be ensnared by fear. We must remember that God's purpose will ever shine like the sun pierces the clouds. Noah's eyes glistened as he reflected on Japheth's words. In every moment of uncertainty, we must not forget the promise of his presence. The Lord is our shepherd, he leads us beside still waters, Psalm 23 verse 2. As twilight approached, casting a golden hue over the valley, a shiver of expectancy swelled within them. It was then they heard a rustling among the trees behind them. Turning as one, they found a figure emerging from the shadows. A traveler, weary yet steadfast, approached, his eyes filled with wonder. "Who are you that walks in these lands?" he asked, his voice rich with awe. "What quest drives you forth into the unknown?" Noah, stepping forward, spoke with authority. "We are the descendants of Noah, moving in obedience to the voice of God. We seek to establish a new legacy, guided by the light of his truth." The traveler's eyes widened as he recognized the name. "I have heard of the great flood, the covenant promises. I come to tell of tales from the land beyond the mountains, a land ripe with promise, yet also fraught with its own challenges." The suspense in the air thickened, filling their spirits with both excitement and trepidation. Ham felt his heart quicken, a mixture of hope and anxiety swirling within. "And what do these lands hold?" Japheth questioned, his eagerness accentuating his voice. "Great wonders and terrors await," said the traveler gravely. "For the Lord has a purpose that will unveil both the strength of his promise and the depth of human choice. Trials will arise that test the very fabric of faith itself." Noah stood firm, knowing that God's plan stretched beyond the horizon of their understanding. "What you speak are challenges that may loom large, yet we shall press forward, bound by his covenant." In the midst of darkness lingering in the unknown, a piercing truth resonated: the unfolding of their journey would be one of profound significance. The legacy they were called to shape was not merely their own, but a thread in the very tapestry of God's sovereign design. And as the traveler departed, a profound realization settled in their hearts: what awaited them on the path ahead was not of their making but part of God's magnificent plan, echoing throughout generations. For in the heart of uncertainty, the sovereign hand of the Almighty prepared to reveal mysteries that would alter not just their lives but the very destiny of nations yet to be born. As dawn broke over the hills, a gentle light warmed the earth, casting shadows that danced upon the ground. Noah and his sons set forth once more, the glimmer of hope mingling with the weight of their uncertain path. The air was thick with promise, yet the traveler's words lingered in their minds, echoing like distant thunder. Noah turned to his sons, voice steady as he sought to anchor their hearts. "Let us not forget the promise the Lord made with us. For he is faithful to fulfill what he has spoken." They pressed on, the lush landscape surrounding them a splendor of creation that whispered of divine artistry. The journey continued, leading them through valleys rich with the voices of the unseen. As they walked, Ham's heart wrestled with a tempest of doubt. "Father," he ventured cautiously, "what of the trials this traveler spoke of? Are we truly ready to face such tests?" Shem walked beside him, his youthful ardor unquenched. "We are not alone, Ham. For the Lord is with us, and he fights our battles. Remember his assurance, 'Fear not, for I am with you, be not dismayed, for I am your God,' Isaiah 41 verse 10. Japheth, his spirit alive with anticipation, chimed in, "We are called to a great purpose. Not just for ourselves but for generations yet to come. Can we doubt the hand that led us through the flood?" Their words warmed Ham's spirit, but still doubt lingered like smoke after a fire. In the distance, a thunderstorm brewed, the dark clouds swirling ominously. They soon found shelter beneath the overhang of a great rock, the thunder rolling like a drumbeat of fate. As rain began to pour, the stark dichotomy of fear and faith enveloped them. Noah raised his voice over the sound of the storm, recounting the stories of their ancestors: the faith of Abraham, the courage of Isaac, and the obedience of Jacob. In the face of calamity and despair, they lifted their hearts to the Lord, and he delivered them. Suddenly, amid the torrential rain, a flash of light burst forth in the sky, and the earth trembled slightly beneath their feet. "What is that?" Ham gasped, his heart racing. Noah, steadied and resolute, looked up. "A sign, perhaps, of what is to come. For he who holds the heavens above also commands the storms." As the rain softened into a gentle shower, a figure appeared in the haze, surrounded by an aura of radiance. The sons squinted to behold the otherworldly sight, their hearts leaping within them. The figure approached, and as it drew near, they sensed an overwhelming presence of peace and power. "Fear not," echoed the figure, for it was as if it carried the very voice of God. "I am sent to proclaim the unfolding of a great plan. Nations shall rise and fall, and from your line, a blessing will emerge, a covenant that shall reach all peoples on the earth." Noah, bowing his head, felt the weight of the divine purpose settle upon him. "What is this blessing that you speak of?" "The world awaits in darkness, but from your lineage will come a light, a fulfillment of promise greater than you can fathom. From one of your sons shall emerge a Savior, bringing redemption for the multitudes." Their hearts swelled with awe, the overwhelming majesty of God washing over them, renewing their faith. The storm drew back as if in reverence, leaving a serene silence in its wake. As the figure began to fade, it raised a hand, a final reminder echoing in the air, "Prepare your hearts. The trials you shall endure will forge you into vessels of His grace." When the light vanished and the storm fully calmed, the brothers looked at each other, a new understanding blossoming within their spirits. They were tasked not only with survival but with the responsibility of carrying forth a divine legacy, and thus, Noah and his sons continued their walk under the brightening sky, their purpose renewed. For they had glimpsed a sliver of God's grand design, knowing that what lay ahead would test their resolve and strengthen their faith. In the quiet of that moment, a profound realization took root within them. Though the road was fraught with trials, they were chosen to transform the world, bound by an everlasting covenant. And in the heart of every storm, the voice of the Almighty beckoned forth to illuminate the way, for unknown to them, within the threads of their lives woven through trials and triumphs, the foundation of generations would be laid, a tapestry that only the hand of God could weave. As the sun cast its golden rays upon the horizon, Noah and his sons ventured forth from the shelter of the great rock, their spirits invigorated by the revelation they had seen. A gentle wind rustled through the trees, carrying whispers of hope and promise as they journeyed onward. Japheth, emboldened by the assurance of the divine proclamation, felt a surge of faith welling within him. "Brothers, let us remember, the Lord's words are like seeds planted in fertile soil. If we nurture them with trust and obedience, they will bear much fruit." His voice rang with a newfound conviction, drawing smiles from Shem and even a reluctant nod from Ham, who still battled his lingering doubt. Noah glanced upon his sons, pride swelling in his heart. "Indeed, my sons. What we carry is sacred, an unfolding legacy entrusted to our hands. Let us be watchful and attentive, for the path will not always be easy." With each footfall, the earth seemed to awaken, as if anticipating the fulfilling of the covenant. The brothers shared tales of bravery from their ancestors, of Abel's faith reaching beyond the veil of earthly life, and the steadfastness of Enoch, who walked so closely with God that he was taken up. Their hearts united in the spirit of remembrance, each story weaving them tighter into the fabric of God's promise. Suddenly, the ground trembled once more, yet this time it was not the rumbling of stormy skies but a deep, melodic sound resonating through the valleys, echoing like a celestial choir. They paused, eyes widening, as a vision unfurled before them, a vast multitude, a nation gathered upon the shores of a great sea. "What is this?" Ham gasped, his gaze fixed upon the scene as if drawn magnetically. Noah closed his eyes for a breath, seeking divine understanding. "A reminder, perhaps. A glimpse into the future of our lineage. Theirs will be a journey wrought with trials but also with freedom and covenant." Japheth felt an awakening within his own spirit. Could this be what lies ahead for us? Might we also lead a people from darkness to light? Shem nodded fervently. "Yes. For it is through trials that champions arise. The Lord does not waste our struggles, but rather transforms us through them." The brothers continued onward, their hearts ignited with urgency and purpose. In their steps, they began to sense the imprints of their forefathers. They were but pieces of a grand puzzle, each destined to reveal a part of the eternal plan. Days turned into weeks as they traveled, forging deeper connections among the rich landscapes of their journey. They encountered tribes and families still scarred by the chaos of the flood, and in those brothers and sisters, they saw reflections of themselves, witnesses to the restoration only God could bring. Then came a day when they halted near a bubbling spring, where they could rest and drink deeply from the well of life. There, as they gathered beneath the canopy of the heavens, the earth trembled again, though this time it was not a harbinger of fear. A soft glow enveloped them, as if heaven's light had broken through the veil of earthly troubles. A voice, gentle yet powerful, emerged from the stillness. Fear not, for I am with you. You have been chosen as vessels, to lead a remnant to me. In your lineage shall come a prophet, one who shall proclaim the way and prepare the hearts of a wayward nation. The brothers stood in awe, trembling at the weight of their mission. The fear that had once gripped him began to lift, replaced by a fervent yearning to embrace their calling. Will we be ready, Father? Are we strong enough? He implored. Strength is found in surrender, Noah replied, looking into each of his sons' eyes. And through every trial, we will be forged anew. Prepare the way, for the Lord has great and wondrous works yet unseen. As the light waned, a renewed sense of purpose washed over them, hearts thrumming with anticipation of what was to come. Indeed, they were preparing for something magnificent, and yet, the path remained shrouded in divine mystery, for unknown to them, as they continued on this sacred journey, the very fabric of history was being woven through their choices. Each trial, each triumph, a brushstroke upon the canvas of eternity. What awaited them on the horizon remained veiled, yet they could not shake the stirring belief that something monumental was drawing near, a culmination of God's unfathomable plan that would rewrite the destiny of nations. As the days wore on and the brothers walked the ancient paths of the land, the very air seemed to hum with purpose. They traversed valleys and climbed hills, each step echoing with the weight of their calling. Noah, sensing the burden of their mission, turned to face his sons. Remember, my sons, as it was told to our forefather Adam, I will put enmity between you and the woman, and between your offspring and her offspring. He shall bruise your head, and you shall bruise his heel. Genesis 3 verse 15. This enmity will follow us, but it also promises a redemption that is yet to come. Ham, ever contemplative, replied, Father, do you believe we are to carry that seed, even now? Must we strive against the very darkness that sought to destroy the earth? Indeed, Noah affirmed, we are to be lights in the darkness, illuminating the path for those who wander. The trials faced shall purify our hearts and strengthen our resolve. His voice was gentle yet firm, imbued with the conviction of a patriarch. As they continued onward, a thick mist enveloped them, pulling at the tendrils of their fears and uncertainties. Yet, within this mist emerged the gentle laughter of children, reverberating through the stillness. Intrigued, they followed the sound, forging through the veil until they came upon a small village nestled by a crystal lake, gleaming in the twilight. The villagers, initially wary, soon approached with cautious hearts, yet there were smiles in their eyes, a light that hinted at hope. A woman, standing at the forefront, beckoned them closer. We have heard tales of your coming, she spoke softly, of a great flood and the man who walked with God. We were lost, but your presence brings us faith anew. Shem, inspired by her words, stepped forward and shared their own encounter with the divine. He spoke of their journey and the covenant that stretched across generations, igniting in the hearts of the villagers a flicker of longing for a God who still cared for his creation amidst their struggles. Japheth, emboldened by the faith of the villagers, issued a call that resonated in their very souls. Let us build an altar here, in this sacred place. Let us honor the God who has preserved us through tumult and tribulations. The people, swept up in the fervor, gathered stones and wood. In the midst of their labor, Ham, still cautious, whispered to Noah, Is it not perilous to place our hopes in this moment? We have not seen what their hearts truly hold. No, my son, Noah replied, his eyes reflecting the firelight, it is in these moments of faith that God delights to reveal his power. Trust in his plan, even when the path is obscured. As the flames danced high into the night sky, Japheth stood before the altar, his heart swelling with reverence. O Lord of creation, you who brought forth life from the barren ground. We gather here as vessels of hope, yearning to see your kingdom established upon the earth. Suddenly, the air shifted, heavy with the presence of the divine. A sharp wind stirred the flames, causing them to leap and crackle, as if heaven itself had heard their call. And amidst this fervor, a vision appeared once more, a multitude standing by the shores of a great sea, their faces lit with anticipation. But this time, Japheth saw a figure among them, raising his arms in prayer. A beacon of light, and as the vision faded, a deep understanding settled in his spirit. This is the prophet whom I have spoken of, it whispered into the silence. An urgency filled the hearts of the brothers. They realized the magnitude of their journey had only just begun. The time would come for them to lead nations, and their faith would be the bridge spanning the chasm of despair and divine promise. As the embers glowed, lighting the faces of those around them, Noah spoke again. The seed of our faith shall grow strong. You, Japheth, shall be a mighty warrior, for in you lies the heartbeat of a future yet unseen. Thus, they gathered together, each heart fervently believing. The ripples of their decisions were shifting the tides of history, and within those sacred moments lay a divine whisper that called forth generations, an unfolding mystery that left them yearning for the next step of his sovereign plan. As dawn broke over the earth, a renewed vigor filled the atmosphere, a sense of divine purpose unfurling like the petals of a blossoming flower. Japheth and his family gathered once more, the glow of the morning sun casting golden rays upon their hopeful faces. They stood together, a unified front, a remnant called forth to fulfill the promise of God. Noah, a venerable patriarch, clasped the hands of his sons, his grip firm as the call of their covenant rang clear. Today, my sons, we embrace our sacred roles as stewards of this newly formed world, he proclaimed, voice resonating with authority. For the Lord has chosen us, not merely to endure, but to lead a people who will know his ways and walk in his truth. The brothers exchanged glances, their hearts beating in synchrony with the weight of responsibility pressing upon them. Father, what shall we teach them? Shem asked, his curiosity fertile as the land surrounding them. How shall we guide those who look up to us? Japheth, emboldened by the stirring visions of the prophet and the call of their covenant, replied, let our voices sing the praises of his faithfulness. We will tell of our deliverance from the flood, of the mercy shown to us in our darkest hour. Each lesson will be a seed planted in unsure hearts, watered by his unwavering love. With renewed determination, the family set forth among the fields, plowing earth and planting seeds, establishing a community grounded firmly in faith. They built homes that stood as beacons amidst the vibrant landscape, each structure a testament to the covenant they upheld. The laughter of children filled the air, echoing through the hills, a symphony of hope growing louder day by day, but as time unfolded, shadows lurked at the periphery. A traveler approached one morning, his demeanor weighed by burdened thoughts. I have come to warn you, he spoke, grayness clouding his eyes. A darkness stirs beyond our sight. The hearts of men turn once more toward wickedness, forgetting the lessons of the past. Noah, sensing the truth within the traveler's words, gathered his family close. We have witnessed the consequences of rebellion against God, a judgment we escaped through his grace. But we must remain vigilant, for the dangers of sin will seek to ensnare even our own. Let us fortify our hearts in prayer, Japheth suggested resolutely. We shall not yield to fear but strive to uphold the teachings of our God. In the weeks that followed, they committed to fervent prayer, seeking guidance through assembly and worship. They placed altars throughout the land, each a reminder of the divine encounters that shaped their existence. The fragrances of burnt offerings wafted into the heavens, intertwining with their cries for wisdom and protection, but conflicts arose even amid the reverence. Ham, ever cautious yet increasingly burdened, began to voice his frustrations. Our family grows strong, yet the challenges loom ever larger. How shall we maintain unity and righteousness in the face of temptation? Japheth turned to his brother, compassion imbuing his tone. We must confront these fears, Ham. The world will always pull at the seams of our commitment. But our hold is anchored in God's promises, forged in faith through our trials. Each challenge refines us, sharpening the legacy we are to leave behind. As they pressed into God's promises, a profound understanding deepened in their spirits. The covenant was a twofold blessing meant to shield and also to push them forth, into a world waiting for redemption. Then came the day when their community swelled with promise. They gathered for a festival celebrating the abundance of the harvest, a mosaic of colors and laughter intermingling beautifully, an embodiment of God's handiwork. Japheth stood among them, heart swelling as awe enveloped him. "Look how far we have come," he called out to the crowd, hands lifted toward the heavens. "These fruits, this joy, stem from the faith we have sown, the promises we have clung to. We are here to shine as lights, as testimonies to the goodness of our Lord." Joy rippled through the assembly, their hearts echoing with agreement. In that jubilant moment, a brilliant light pierced the sky, illuminating them, casting a radiant hue upon the land, a divine affirmation of their commitment. It was a signal that God was with them, reaffirming his covenant amidst their endeavors. But at that moment of joy, a distant rumble shook the air, a warning that trouble brewed on the horizon. An army of men approached, marked with intentions that flickered with malice. Fear swept through the festival, whispering uncertainty. Noah raised his voice, his gaze steady as he met the eyes of his sons. "Stand firm, this is our moment to testify. The Lord fights for us, and this covenant shall not falter." With a resolve like steel, they combined forces, standing as a bulwark against the approaching storm. As weapons clashed and darkness threatened to breach their lines, the family banded together, their prayers a chorus rising up in defiance of despair. In fierce battle, Japheth remembered the promises of God, his heart igniting with a fervor drawn from living faith. "O Lord, give us strength. Help us remain steadfast against the trials we face." Through fierce struggles, the dawn of victory landed upon them. The attackers, sensing the divine presence within the steadfast community, withdrew, leaving remnants of fear swirling around them. As peace settled once more overhead, the brothers locked eyes, strengthened through their shared tribulation. Together, they turned to their community. "We have felt the fury of darkness, yet we remain." Noah approached, the warmth of their faith evident through his eyes. "We have borne witness to battles both inside and out, yet the promise of God remains unbroken. What we have established is a legacy that can withstand storms of any sort. Stand firm in truth, let your hearts rest in his goodness." And thus, the family's journey grew into a vibrant testament, a remnant who walked with God through each trial. The legacy of Japheth and his lineage flourished, binding generations in a covenant of love amid the stark realities of a world vying for their hearts. As the light receded into the mountains, Jama lay their heads down in quiet assurance, hearts ever reaching for his light, longing to shine, knowing they were part of a grand, unfolding narrative, a future awash in divine destiny. And now we, in our own time, must remember that same call. In our struggles, let us lift our hearts in prayer, nurture faith in our lives, and trust that even amidst trials, God is ever guiding our steps in his beautiful tapestry of hope. Let this testimony encourage you. Each step of faith propels us closer to the fulfillment of his promises. Thus, breathe in the call, for we all are invited into his glorious plan. Now, I invite you, subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next powerful biblical stories that will lift your spirit. Leave a like now to help spread God's word through the algorithm. The truth needs to echo in every corner. Comment below with your reflections on this story, how it impacted your faith journey, and share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to hear God's truth today. You need to subscribe now to stay connected to God's word. Don't wait even one more second to share this powerful testimony.